welcome to So We're Watching That Right, a podcast where two lesbians bully each other for having the same taste in anime. I'm Becky, scientifically certified best girl.
And I'm Val, everyone's favorite harem protagonist.
In the interest of my voice lasting long enough to cover everything we've got to cover this week, we're just going to get straight into Gnosia, episode 8, which clearly corresponds to the point in the game where the format breaks, as it has to in a game like this.
Yeah, I don't think that this has, clear analog in what the game actually is, but it's definitely something where, the norm breaks down for the adaptation, for sure.
Yeah. We start to see a little bit of classic meta trickery in, different cut effects and so on. The plot this time is about the introduction of the guard duty role. The characters who are on guard duty are guaranteed to be human. First up are Remnan and Kukrushka. Kukrushka is the mute. Remnan is the traumatized boy who spent his entire introductory episode hidden under a table. And we get to find out about his trauma this episode because it makes him very uncomfortable around Kukrushka.
And also the entire routine of voting people out and them going into cold sleep breaks down entirely.
Yes.
And it ends up triggering an event with Kukrushka and Remnan that,
Yep.
ends the loop. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. There are other horrors in this world besides Gnosia. But equally...
Speaking of Gnosia...
Yeah.
When we get to the end of the loop, it turns out that we're moving into the Gnosia arc, because the ending changes and everything to mark that Yuri is woken up as a Gnosia for the first time. And that'll be interesting.
I will be even less able to follow the logic because I'm so bad at being the werewolf. In episode 9 of This Monster Wants to Eat Me, right. I understand the concept of fruit sandwiches. A fruit sandwich can be very nice. The way anime render fruit sandwiches as just two pieces of bread with strawberries in an inch thick layer of clotted cream is that real? Is that a thing? Do people like that?
It's not clotted cream, it's whipped cream. It's lighter than you think, but yeah, some people just want a light, sweet, sandwich snack.
That's so sweet, though.
Yeah? It's not that sweet, depending on how you make the whipped cream.
I guess. Anyway, that's hardly relevant at all. It was just the first thought I had watching this episode of this show, which is mostly about kind of paying off the reveals from the previous episode where we found out that possibly Shiori's been lying about eating Hinako all along, which, sure enough, she's been lying about eating Hinako all along. She met Hinako once when Hinako was much younger and gave her some blood as repayment on what she calls a minor debt, which is troubling. And basically, she's been looking after Hinako ever since. And what this amounts to from Hinako's perspective is this woman has been lying to her all along about wanting to eat her and promising her the release of death that she wants, which she's very upset about because the way she frames it, and this I think is actually a compelling way to sell what's at the heart of this show, is that Shiori's apparent willingness to help Hinako end her life is the only time that Hinako has felt understood in this swamp of grief that she has lived in since she was a child. And the revelation that that's actually a lie and that Shiori wants Hinako to live and thrive is just a full rug pull for her.
Yeah.
And then, because it's this show, for the second half of the episode, Miko and Shiori go on a date to the zoo. And there's a goofy zoo date montage of the two of them.
Good.
But it's building up to a serious conversation where Shiori tells Miko that she's envious of her because Miko can see the human in the humans, basically. And all Shiori can see is meat. And then Miko says, well, I got this way by forming a connection with these people. Right, I was a prisoner at first, and as I lived with these people, I formed a connection to them, I came to see their value. And Shiori says that's very lucky. And this is another, really cool moment. Miko says, you'll never get anywhere if you just chalk that up to luck. Which I, quite apart from everything else that's going on in this show, is just such a powerful response to the way that the kind of loneliness that I think you and I have both experienced functions, right? And that is the subject of so much nerd media. This is the same thing as Kenta in... Chitose, yeah. It's all these people are more fortunate than me. It's well, you have to do some of the work of connecting.
Yeah. Luck is part of it. And a lot of people will downplay that. and that will feel bad
Yeah.
if you're not having good luck, but it is not all of it.
And like Kenta's a useful point on this scale, right? Which is, it's not that Kenta didn't have good luck, it's that he specifically had bad luck.
Yeah, it wasn't a neutral environment for him to be trying to do this stuff in.
Anyway, I fear I'm making Monster Wants to Eat Me sound too happy. It was a deeply sad episode. I'm crowbarring that in because that's the segue to talking about Just Beyond the End of Time, episode 10.
Yeah, this was a downer episode.
This episode was so sad, but in productive ways.
Yeah.
Like, there's the ongoing thing of, like, Amaru is now definitely in love with Akira, but also feels like she is being shut out from their relationship.
Yeah, as someone who, like, has been in a triad that didn't quite work out because not all of the emotional balances were there, it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
As a bit of drama when dealing with, like, balancing a set of relationships, romantic or not.
Yeah. And then this family that they met on the train, where they all kind of jumped on board in a very classic anime hijinks kind of way, with trying to help the husband reconcile with his wife that he cheated on.
Yeah. Really classic sitcom, like, episode of, like, drama of the week.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna help this guy out.
Yeah. It's not even sitcom, I would say. I would say it was more like, this is a thing that would happen if this was a typical shonen show, like a long-running kind of One Piece kind of deal. Like, they'd be on a train to somewhere and there'd be this couple and they'd do goofy things to get them back together. And they do the goofy things, including, what's his name, playing the squeeze box.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his fucking name ever.
The scholar guy.
Yeah.
And like, they do this in the middle of a train carriage where there are lots of other passengers. So the wife kind of caves to pressure.
Yeah.
And goes along with it for that moment, but then later tells him that she's leaving him and taking the kids with her. And it's, I mean, she's well within her rights to do so because he is a dick and he definitely, you know, all this circus around reconciling them does not actually involve the construction of any kind of emotional reconnection at all.
Yeah.
It's all superficial.
It is all theater, and, like, the decision to do that in public as a form of social pressure, especially with, like, there have been a lot of stories where people get pressured into saying yes to, like, engagements because it's being done in public.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I was just like, I'm not gonna get down on one knee in the middle of the sales floor at this fucking con. I love you so much, but I'm not gonna do that.
This was right after we'd, like, ordered our engagement rings, by the way. Happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But we'd already agreed that we were gonna get married.
Yeah, but I didn't want to be subject to the seller's room just being like, oh, there's a proposal happening. I'm bad with people when I can see them.
Anyway, yeah, so all of that's very sad. They get to the end of the train journey, and Yugure and her hot goth sister Yoimiya have a duel, and Yugure gets the upper hand, but hasn't quite finished Yoimiya off, and Yoimiya is about to take her out, and Akira intervenes, and it is suddenly revealed that Akira all along has been an android as well.
Yep.
And that Yugure knew this and didn't tell him. And more sadness. Just all sadness.
Yep, he immediately starts spiraling, and we're going to get some more details on that on the next episode, which fuck knows when we're going to watch that. We'll find a time for it.
Yeah. And so Just Beyond the End of Time is like a shonen show, but turned into a drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of a good segue to this next show, which is a rom-com turned into a drama in very much the same sense of how we'd say that, which is Watari-kun.
Yeah.
Watari-kun's blank is about to collapse, episode 22. So, we start out with some career talk with these high schoolers thinking about what they're going to do next, and Yukari is planning to go to college. Watari is not sure what he wants to do, and Yukari invites him to go to some college open days with her and gives him a notebook. And Watari goes home and talks to Tamayo, his aunt, about this. And she, like, really pushes him to go to college and, like, says she'll support him, which is part of this very slow but very warming transformation that Tamayo's gone through, where she's like,
yeah, she's really grown to be like an actual parental figure.
Yeah.
And like supportive to him in a way that, Like, you could tell that they were setting up for this at the start of the series, but it was a real long road to get there.
And the other thing is, this crops up rarely enough, because Tamayo doesn't get a lot of screen time, but this crops up rarely enough. Like, it does a really good job of framing it in such a way that you can tell that Watari hasn't really processed this yet. Like, that he is actually finally getting the kind of parental care that he ought to have been having all along. And I feel like there could be an incredibly powerful payoff there at some point.
Yeah.
Sometime in the remaining 4 episodes.
Lord.
How are there still 4 episodes of this? But the big thing this episode is Watari's at home looking through the notes that Yukari's given him on college open days and stuff. And he gets a message or a call from Satsuki asking if she can come over and see him, which he's thrilled about, because at the moment he thinks he's in love with her. And she comes round and they're chatting and he's talking a bit about the future plans stuff. And she finds the notebook and notices that it's Yukari's. And then she comes onto him really hard. Like, in a way that, you know...
just reeks of actual desperation in a way that her previous attempts of getting affection from him have not been.
Yeah, like, it's clear that this is the sort of thing that he was probably fantasizing about. But the moment it's actually in front of him and happening, he can tell that it means something's up. And what it is his thinking about future planning had been triggered by Satsuki saying that she'd reconsidered about taking over her parents' inn and she was probably going to do that as her, like, life. And so he was thinking, well, what am I going to do with myself? And what turns out to have happened in the interim is she got a call from her family saying, your brother is going to marry our concierge and they're going to take over the inn. So she's just kind of felt that her entire plan just evaporated, right?
Yeah.
And in the latest, Satsuki says a line that utterly eviscerates us. She says, I can't handle having hope. That's why I'm always trying to break the things that are precious to me. Which is just everything about her character in a nutshell. From moment 1 of the show. And all the backstory stuff, because then we not directly cut into, but then, like, Watari hairs off to the inn to figure out what's going on and confront Satsuki's stepbrother, and we get a bunch of backstory from the stepbrother's perspective. And we get the actual explanation for the context in which Satsuki trashed Watari's garden the last day of the summer where they met. But the context is, I can't handle having hope, that's why I'm always trying to break the things that are precious to me. Even more than any of the narrative stuff. And yeah, it's
a doozy.
Murderous. It's so powerful and...
yeah.
I'm sad about these kids. I want the best for them. And I think they're getting there. But also, ow.
Very slowly and over a very rocky road.
It does feel like it can't possibly end well for all of them.
Yeah, Yukari's gonna get... I feel like she's gonna get the shortest end of the stick. Makina already fucked off.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Because there's still that moment when the landlady's granddaughter really put Watari on the spot. Inside, he knew that he picked Yukari.
Yeah.
And I almost think it's going to be a more powerful show if that's how it ends up.
Yeah. We're going to see over the next 4 episodes.
Yep.
Holy shit.
We shall report back whenever we next record an episode, which, by the way, note, there are not going to be any more episodes in December because I'm barely here.
I mean, you're going to be here, but not like here on the recording sense, here on the physical, I can throw a blue shell at you sense.
Currently, I have the blue shell.
So you say.
Anyway, let us wipe away the sadness with Yano-kun's Ordinary Days, episode 9.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
They're so dumb.
Yano has been struggling because every time he's around Kyoko, his heart races and he's worried that he's got a heart problem, which is kind of understandable if, as Yano seems to, you know literally nothing about the world at all.
Yeah. His experience with the world seems to have been as childproofed as his house is.
Yeah. Anyway, I forget the exact deal here, but basically Kyoko invites Yano round for a study date at her house, and then they both go mad about preparing for it. And so there's a scene of Kyoko getting her friends to teach her a bunch of makeup stuff, and like they go makeup shopping, and Kyoko is very, very excited about having found a thing for cheap, which turns out not to be makeup at all, but plasters for Yano.
Yeah.
Like sticking plasters for Yano. Meanwhile, Yano is talking with the boys and learning fashion from them, and there's this wonderful, like, fashion doll sequence with Yano of him just trying on a bunch of different outfits. And then Mei, Kyoko's friend, gets jealous of how much attention Kyoko is giving to Yano. And look, this polycule could just expand. There's room for more.
Yo, we have a suggestion.
We have more suggestions. But the actual house visit is gorgeous, just delightful. Like, the artist who designed Kyoko's outfit did a really good job of coming up with something understated but beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this show has such a simple art style, so line efficient and flat, that it should take a lot to make someone look extra good, but they manage it with the tiniest touches.
Yeah, she's like really adorable this episode.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And she makes him omurice, and they study a bit, and then her younger siblings come home, and they eat cake together. And then at the end of the day, you know, Yano has been struggling all day because his heart's been racing every time he looks at her, because fair. But at the end of the day, without him having mentioned that, she tells him that she's had a great time and her heart has been racing all day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, I get it. It's adorable.
Yeah, it's really good.
Speaking of adorable, Inexpressive Kashiwada and Expressive Oota, episode 9. Finally, the blonde troublemaker from the opening and ending sequences has shown up. I was excited the moment she showed up on screen, and at no point did she disappoint in any way. So, the deal turns out to be that Odajima, as she is called, is to Oota as Oota is to Kashiwada, right? Oota likes messing with Kashiwada because he's trying to get a response out of her. Odajima likes messing with Oota because she likes getting the responses out of him. And she really, really messes with him. And it's great because it's a perfect kind of scales balancer.
Mm-hmm.
But also she claims to be able to read Kashiwada's face really well.
I believe her.
I believe her too, but like they do a good job of withholding an endorsement of that judgment for long enough for us as viewers to experience the other characters thinking this is bullshit. So she's messing with Oota a lot, and Kashiwada is getting sad. Like, she clearly wants Odajima to back off a bit so that she can still have some Oota time. Tabuchi, the class president, is falling apart because she's been reassigned to a different class. The reason Odajima gets introduced is they like reassign all the classes, and now Odajima is in their class. But then they're at like sports class or whatever it is, PE, and it's tennis, and Oota and Tabuchi are really serious tennis players, and they really want to like go head to head and beat each other.
Mm-hmm.
Kashiwada and Odajima are rubbish, and they end up in a doubles match, Oota and Kashiwada versus Tabuchi and Odajima, and it's basically just Oota and Tabuchi most of the time. But eventually Kashiwada like really tries really hard to get involved and messes up and somehow hits Oota in the face with the ball.
Yeah,
and he's yelling at her to like leave it all to him. And she like very, very sweetly, very sadly goes, I wanted to play with you. Aww.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we return to Odajima's boast about being able to read Kashiwada's expressions. And Oota goes, all right then, prove it. Read her expression now. And Odajima looks at Kashiwada and goes, are you sure it's okay for me to say this? To Kashiwada. And Kashiwada doesn't give any like discernible answer at all, but Odajima clearly sees an answer there. And what she tells Oota is, and I quote, she's excited to be around you, Oota. Her quiet gaze contains a fiery passion. There's a deep infatuation there. Which, again, Kashiwada has basically said this to Oota before. Not in so many words, but like has made her feelings clear. And he hasn't believed it, and for some reason he clearly believes this. And then the credits on this episode roll, and after the credits, there's just a shot of Tabuchi lying on the floor suffering at the idea that actually Kashiwada likes Oota.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good final gag.
Mm-hmm. The transition cannot be, speaking of gag, let's talk about the lesbian sex dungeon and the dark history of the reincarnated villainess, but I kind of want it to be.
I mean, that's making the edit, babe. In the dark history of the Reincarnated Villainess, episode 8, Iana has been taken into custody by the police on suspicion of kidnapping a bunch of girls. She believes that she has remembered from her book that the actual culprit is the Duchess in whose mansion they are all staying. So she sneaks out the window, climbing down a rope made of knotted blankets.
And a body pillow of the Duchess that was also there for some reason. I believe was also part of that gag.
I knew there was something, I couldn't remember what.
God.
Anyway, she sneaks out, she's searching the mansion for the entrance to the lesbian sex dungeon. Sorry, to the dungeon. We don't know yet it's a lesbian sex dungeon. Shino, the policeman, finds her and starts chasing her. He's got a lasso for some reason. He's chasing her with a lasso.
Yeah. And he misses every time.
He does miss, but it's like, it does make sense to me that that is part of what Iana would write.
Mm-hmm.
But they find the entrance to the dungeon. It is a lesbian sex dungeon. This is apparently part of the idea about women that Iana got from her lesbian neighbour.
Fun neighbor.
Clearly. I'm a bit concerned about how Iana knew that about her lesbian neighbour. Although I guess she's an adult by the time that she is...
Yeah, she's an office lady by the time.
She's an office lady by the time she gets isekai, but she's not, like, she was writing this as a teenager.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
I mean, teens find out about
Teens do
kinks.
find out about stuff. Unless they're me. Nothing I now know about kink. If you told me about it when I was 15, would I have believed you? I would literally have assumed you were making shit up.
Here is the thing. I have said this before. We have literally been in the hotel where I was when I was like 13 or 14 and a full parade of people going to the kink ball.
Yep.
Paraded past, pasties and all, just in the hotel lobby. It was really fucking funny. I was just like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
The fact that that was just like, it seems right, and you would not have parsed that as real at all is wild.
I would have assumed that they were shooting some sort of film.
Incredible.
I was very sheltered. Anyway, weird things happen in this dungeon, and I don't mean like weird sex things. I mean, nothing about this encounter makes any sense at all.
Yeah, like the weird sex things happen, but
they kind of make sense, honestly. Like, they pass as part of the narrative logic. Iana and Shino get knocked out and captured, and they're chained up. And the Duchess is trying to seduce Shino, and she tries to remove his clothes, and she is thwarted by the fact that the clothes that Iana designed when she was writing the novel are too absurd and complicated and convoluted to be removed at all, which is great. I'm glad I'm not the only person who's had that thought about anime outfits.
Mm-hmm.
And yet somehow the clothes are impossible to remove, but not only Shino, but also Iana break out of their metal shackles.
You know, they're like the kink handcuffs that, like, they just, you know, the lock doesn't actually work. It's all there for theater, but...
Yeah. Anyway, Iana gets the chance to run away, but that would mean abandoning Shino and all the girls that the Duchess has kidnapped. And she decides that she is no longer her old cowardly self, and she will live up to her villainess status and go back and save them. And the episode basically ends off at that moment of her going back for them, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll find out how that works out for her sometime.
Yep.
In episode 10 of My Awkward Senpai...
God, it was such a good episode.
It was such a good episode, and like it piles up so much. But it starts out, and Kanawa is out shopping, and she's looking through the doorway of a nice clothes shop at clothes that she wants to try on. But it's a nice enough clothes shop that the shop floor staff, she knows if she goes in, they will approach her and try to talk to her and ask her about what she wants. And she's too awkward and shy for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kamigawa walks past and sees her doing this and figures out that that's what's going on. And so he basically runs interference with the shop staff while she shops.
Yep. Sometimes you just need a buddy to be like, nope, she's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. But then at the end of this, like, they kind of hang out a bit together. They part ways, and Kamigawa is meeting a girl. Kanawa catches a glimpse of this before they go out of sight, and she spends the rest of the episode unable to stop thinking about this. even though it's pretty obvious for the rest of us that this girl is his sister, they have the same hair.
Yeah, and the same undertone on their hair. Like,
yes. In a show where hair is really, like, very clearly coded to particular characters, this girl is coded to be visually related to Kamigawa.
mm-hmm. I just had a cursed thought. Oh, hold on.
Oh?
You know how in fucking Kotesashi, hands off, all of them have two-tone hair?
Mm-hmm.
Same universe. But
fuck. You don't want to pursue that logic because there's definitely too many other shows that it would fit that we don't want to include here. But it doesn't matter that Kanawa has seen Kamigawa with a girl because the next day Kamigawa sees Kanawa with a person.
A person of indeterminate gender.
Who is tall and wearing a definitely distinctively a men's suit. And so Kamigawa also has all the reactions, as one might expect. And for some reason, Kanawa, Kamigawa, Mio, and this fourth person whose name is Ritsu decide they are going on a spa trip together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really clear how that choice happens. It just sort of is declared and then they do. And it's, in some ways, it's very usual spa trip drama.
Mm-hmm.
They go for, like, late that night, they go for a walk together, just Kanawa and Kamigawa, and each of them wants to ask the other who it was they were with, or like what they are to you and that sort of thing. And they both bottle out, and then they go and get drunk over dinner and have a screaming row about it that embarrasses everybody.
In the middle of a restaurant, not even a private booth, which I thought it was, but nope.
Yep.
The open restaurant, just oof.
Then, finally, at the end of the episode, Ritsu turns to Mio and says, now that we've settled that down, let's go and get a bath. And Ritsu goes into the ladies' bath with Mio. So clearly, Kanawa wasn't flirting with Ritsu and there wasn't a relationship there. Much though Ritsu was definitely planting the seed of that idea in order to put pressure on Kamigawa. So next episode, I assume we will return to the subject of the sister.
Yep. It does end on a shot of him getting home.
True.
Drunk. And she's just like, whatever, guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mangaka next.
In the Mangaka's Weirdly Wonderful Workplace, episode 9. This episode starts with a scream in the middle of the night. But it's just Futami weighing herself and realizing she's gained weight.
Yep.
So the next morning, she's talking about how they should all get more exercise. And Nashida is wearing a t-shirt that just says unwilling on it.
Yep.
Which is great. Hasan persuades Futami not to jump straight to, like, running, because that's the sort of thing you need to work up towards. So they go for a nice walk, and they find an abandoned dog.
Yep.
And this dog has been in the opening credits and the end sequence since the show started. So, like, they're going to take the dog. They take the dog in.
Yeah, it's also, so I need to say, the lyrics for the opening call out Pomeranians specifically. The dog is not a Pomeranian. And that really irritates me.
Yeah, it's a Shiba.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Futami wants to take the dog in. There's a stock kind of pleading routine that the girl who wants to adopt the dog does with the nearest authority figure, right? And Futami gives Hasan the puppy dog eyes, even though, like, Hasan is her employee, and the dog would be living at Futami's house where Hasan works.
Yeah.
But Hasan takes this completely seriously and points out that they are already looking after one stray, by which she means Nashida.
She's so right for that.
She's so right for that. By the end of this episode, Futami and Hasan have clearly fully become Nashida's lesbian moms, which is great. When Hasan gives the okay, Futami is just, like, gushing with happiness and gratitude, and that makes Hasan really blushy.
Yep.
And then everybody loves the dog, because of course everybody loves the dog. It's a lovely dog.
Yeah.
And then one day Nashida actually goes home to check her post and finds a fan letter, which she's too scared to read. But she gets this nice fan letter, and that kind of perks her up a bit. And then she gets a new gig. She gets a new job doing a manga, which is one that was previously offered to Futami that Futami turned down. And the moment that she gets... It's like, all through the show, Nashida has been very well turned out with her hair styled in this, like, complicated loop plait style and so on. And the first time we see her after she gets the new gig, she is slobbing it in trackies, her hair is down and loose. She has turned into Futami. It's such a good detail.
Yep. Ooh.
And now we have to talk about My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me, episode 9.
Yeah.
The episode title of which is My Fake Girlfriend Gets Tough When I Respond to Her Confession.
It sure is.
Which is channeling some sort of an energy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what, and I'm not sure I like it, but it's channeling.
It's really good. I love this series a lot.
Yeah.
They are really doing their best with the 12 episodes they've gotten.
Yeah. It's like an ASMR track title.
It is.
That's what's been itching at me.
It really is.
Oh, like some really cursed tsundere ASMR.
So most tsundere ASMR.
Most tsundere content is cursed. That's kind of the point.
That's the charm, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, before we can get to the actual fake girlfriend getting tough stuff, we have an Iroha bit first, where they've got a voice acting recording session booked, and Iroha can't do it because she's gotten completely stuck in a saccharine personality. And the sound tech, who basically lives for sound teching and is more or less letting Aki do this for free, says she'll kill him if he ruins Iroha's talent with teen drama, which is what's happening. Like, she's absolutely on him for this.
Mm-hmm.
And he responds with some shit about efficiency and his usual, like, clinical detached stuff. So she squishes his face into her boobs and tells him to listen to her heart and how it races when she presses him close, even though she's not into him and she's not really into romance at all.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you can't efficiency your way out of bodily emotion.
Yeah.
Which you can't, and it's good that somebody was willing to face boob squish Aki to make the point.
Yep.
Because it was that or beating the crap out of him.
Both of which he deserves at different points, but you know.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, there's still this Mashiro confessing to Aki from a few episodes ago still hanging over them, and he takes her out to a very fancy restaurant full of couples to respond. And this is so choice. They're sat in the restaurant and Mashiro is observing that it's all couples. And she tells Aki that this is the first time she's been able to be around a bunch of couples without seething with rage. Because now that she's in love herself, she finally understands that couples who act coupley aren't just doing it to piss off the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's a joke, but also, jokes can have teeth.
Yup. Listen, I get it, girl.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked enough about how I understand this perspective.
Yes, it's real good. But she knows he's going to reject her. She knows that the fact that he took her to this restaurant and put so much effort in means he's going to reject her. He frames it as him putting Fifth Floor and the game ahead of his own feelings, which is about as good an idea as when Watari was like, I'm not going to date either of these girls in Watari-kun.
Mm-hmm.
So Mashiro tells him that she's glad that she made a move, and she's serious about him, and she's not giving up. And she tells him, starting tomorrow, I'll be coming on to you so hard you'll go nuts. Which...
That's a hell of a way to end the episode.
Yep. Is also kind of like the thing Satsuki was doing in this episode of Watari.
Beautiful.
In A Star Brighter Than the Sun, episode 9, it's school festival prep time, and Sae swears dead she is going to confess to Koki at the festival. The school is being decorated for the festival, which includes putting up paintings by a bunch of students. Subaru has done a painting that is like floor-to-ceiling high.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a full wall panel-sized painting, and that's on display. And this is convoluted and kind of doesn't pay off. Sae is walking down the hall and she sees this painting and she sees someone vandalizing it. And she's like knelt down to look at the vandalism, and Subaru appears. And so Sae thinks, oh, she must think I've vandalized it because of rivalry over Koki, which Subaru absolutely doesn't think that. And then Koki shows up, and Sae has to worry about whether Koki will think she did it too.
And then Koki immediately goes, it definitely wasn't Sae.
Yes.
Please do not fucking think that she did that.
Yeah.
It's just this little fucking 3-car pileup of people going, no, it's fine.
It's such a bad misunderstanding. And then there's a sequence where basically the whole point of this is to give Sae a chance to observe Koki and Subaru interacting. And she observes eventually that Koki treats Subaru like one of the guys. Clearly not a romantic thing, although she still thinks that Koki fancies Subaru. And she was relieved to learn that Subaru sees Koki as still kind of like a little kid.
Yeah.
But when Subaru said that, she yelled at Subaru that he isn't. And in this episode, Subaru told her, I've been thinking about what you've said, and I'll try to change how I'm thinking. And that bodes ill.
Yeah, Sai is not taking that well, but...
And then just to add to the pressure, the second half of the episode, Yushin, he doesn't quite actually confess to Sui, but he makes it clear that he's going to, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then he bails on the festival prep.
Well, yeah, because Sui makes it clear that she's going to reject him.
Yeah.
And Yushin runs off, making a huge dramatic production about heartbreak. And it's a big thing because he's one of the two people leading the festival planning group for the class.
Yeah, the other one is Mio.
Yes, which is very funny. I think Yushin Mio is a very, very funny couple.
Yeah.
But all of this is about making Sae think about getting rejected and what it would be like if Koki rejected her and how much it sucks to get rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Because the writers of the show aren't subtle.
Mm-hmm.
It's just putting one weight after another on the scales.
Yep, and it's still gonna work. Because that's fun, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In episode 8 of Wandance, so a theme that is emerging here is a kind of split between choreographed dancing and improvised dancing. They've been doing choreographed dancing so far, and they just won a contest in choreographed dancing. But Iori, the other guy in the club, is a dance battler, does, improvised dance. And he thinks, and several other people have expressed this opinion, that Kaba would be better at the improvised dancing than the choreographed dancing. And that's where it's going, is Wanda is good at choreo and Kabo is good at improv. This is setting up a distance between them.
Yeah.
Because so far it's all been about Kabo looking up to Wanda and Kabo feeling like he's reaching towards Wanda. And what's happening with the battling stuff is that he's now pursuing his own passion for dance, and that's kind of peeling them apart quite a bit. But the other really important thing this episode is that dance battles are judged by, audience applause, which is bullshit and terrible, and you should never do this for any competition ever that anything rides on, even if it's only self-esteem. And there is a moment in this episode where Kabo's like, oh, most of the people just clapped. They weren't trying to vote.
Yeah.
Performance competitions are a dumb idea anyway. Just let people do the performances. Why is it got to be a competition? I hate it.
It really depends.
It makes more sense to me for dance battles than most forms. I don't know why. It just feels a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, some brief mentions. May I ask for one final thing? Episode 10 opens with Julius approaching Scarlet and asking her to play catch, which is sufficient for Scarlet to realise that this is mind-controlled Nanaka having shapeshifted into Julius to fuck with her.
Yeah.
And that in turn is sufficient for her to free Nanaka from the compulsion. But most of this episode is about Alflame of Great Kish coming back. This is the guy that she punched back to his home country that one time. And he shows up to help them against this army of monsters that Terranets has unleashed, while taking every possible opportunity to call Scarlet his bride or his love, which she gets pissed off about, but not as much as the dragon that she stole from him when she punched him back to his home country.
It's really funny how fucking angry that dragon is.
It's so good.
Oh god, I hope that dragon continues to just be in the background like, hey, shut the fuck up, guy.
Yeah.
Number one hater. Let's go.
Scarlet orders the dragon to flame breath Alflame, and the dragon does so. And, of course, it has no effect on Alflame, and also all his soldiers take it as a declaration of love.
Yep.
Because clearly this is a nation of maniacs.
No, they're a nation of tsundere appreciators.
You know what we were saying about how everything to do with tsunderes is cursed?
Yes, that is why I'm saying
Their
this.
fanboys are worse. Tsundere fanboys are worse than tsundere. The one other thing this episode is Scarlet fights some monsters and finds that it isn't as satisfying as beating up humans.
Yep.
Because they just don't emote as much.
Yeah.
Also, there's a pig giant.
Yeah, there's like a orc king or whatever.
That has this grody power where he can make his head travel around his body at will. So she punches him in the head and it's a fake head. And then she's playing like whack-a-mole with his head all over his body.
Yeah, and then she Fist of the North Stars him and makes his entire body explode.
Yeah. In Past the Monster Meet Milady, episode 9, we finally actually arrive at Rogier's Dam Castle.
Yep.
And Melfi is crossing the drawbridge, and she looks down at the water, and she realizes her hair has gotten loose sometime in the fighting against the birds. And she panics because her hair is vast and fluffy.
Yep.
And she's worried for some reason, I think because of like her shitty stepmom, that everybody's going to hate her for having big hair.
Yeah.
And it's such nice hair. What the fuck?
You, a noted fluffy enjoyer, would have that opinion.
I'm not wrong. Like, that is opulent princess fucking hair that she has.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there are no women at the castle except for 3 hot lady knights.
There are no ladies in waiting specifically.
Yeah, true.
They just don't have, like, many women staffing the castle.
Yes.
But they do have 3 lady knights, the Blanche Corps.
The Blanche Corps. Blanche is the senior one. They are, of course, hot as fuck, and I was paralyzed.
Taken out.
You were not much better off.
I mean, I'd like to be taken up by Blanche, but she's married.
She is. She's married. She has 2 kids. It's a nice detail.
Mm-hmm.
So Blanche is the senior one. Then there's Natalie, and then there's Lillian. And Lillian looks like Edward Elric.
A little bit, yeah.
And is very excited about trying monster meat, and is kind of my perfect woman for those reasons. Please let her at some point get mad about something, and somebody do the, like, hand on head while she flails her arms thing. I need it. In Touring After the Apocalypse, episode 9, they go to an actual real museum that really exists, which is like the Honda collection. It's a very famous gallery where they have both historical Honda vehicles and also the real motorsport vehicles that Honda's produced that have won various championships, including a motorbike that is the centerpiece of the episode, which I am pretty sure I watched the season of MotoGP, for which that was the world champion bike, which was a weird moment. Anyway, they go to this museum, they find this bike, they get it working again, and Yoko takes it out for a ride on the remains of the Motegi circuit. And this, to be clear, is a top-tier racing bike. And she's driving it on, like, ancient cracked tarmac. And she's basically fine, even after they hook Irie up to a VR rig controlling a Honda supercar, and they drive around a bunch together, which, when real people do that in the real world, that is a stunt that requires, like, millions and millions of dollars of insurance, because it is so stupid and dangerous. Anyway, all of this turns out to have been ghosts or something. They do this whole sequence, and all the, like, cars and bikes and shit look immaculate, impossibly well preserved. And then there's a moment, and they're all back to being ruined, and there's no possible way that they could have ridden them and driven them. And it's very much framed as, like, oh, the ghosts of all the machines in the museum are now fulfilled and are departing. And this is still somehow more realistic than the idea that a teenage girl could get on a 2005 era superbike and, never mind ride it at all, ride it on difficult ground safely. Yeah. Most seasoned motorcyclists could not get on that bike and handle it. Like, it would kill you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with this show. I'm increasingly convinced that not only is Yoko a robot, but maybe also this is a computer simulation. Like, maybe this world is just virtual.
I guess you'll just have to wait and see.
And find out I shall, eventually. Tell me about A While Last Boss appeared, episode 10.
So, last time we left off, Lufus was about to confront Dina about knowing what photos are when none of the other characters did. And this episode opens on them discussing that fact. And Dina just goes, yeah, I know what an NPC is. I've been around. I use memory manipulation magic to make your friends remember that I was there because I knew that there was an NPC in your base that I could use as an in. But it turns out I was a beta tester for the new half-elf race that also got brought into this world, but like 200 years ago. So all the people that I bonded with died because I have half-elf lifespan. And she's got some scheme that she wants to get Lufus and the devil folk to battle each other and crush each other for whatever reason. They fight. Lufus realizes that Dina doesn't really have the skill to back up the stats because she tries to punch her, but she has mage stats, so it doesn't do anything. But she basically goes, fine. Because she was a beta tester, she was just like testing the balance of stuff internally. She wasn't actually like keyed into any of the gameplay loops and stuff. she had an academic understanding of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, okay, fine. I'll finish this. And basically summons Meteor. But because it's an MMO, what Meteor is an actual meteor that takes a long time to actually descend. But she shortcuts it because she has teleport. She has the X-Gate spell that the game was named after. So she just warps it closer to the ground. And Lufus solves this problem by kicking it into pieces.
Nice.
And Dina sees this and goes, what the fuck?
This show rules. This show rules so hard. What the hell?
And yeah, after that, she's just like, well, I should be mad because you fooled me, but I'm only mad at myself for being tricked. You can keep coming with us because I appreciate the things that you've done for us that haven't been part of your scheme. And also having, let me find the line. In a way, it's fairly standard for us to have dangerous subordinates. Having an advisor who's harboring some secret plot sounds fun.
Fuck.
And Dina's response is, you really are.
Hi.
Dina's response is, you really are a player in there, right? You're not like the real Mistress Lufa with the memories of a player, right? And they're just like, our memories are mixing together. I don't fucking know at this point, but let's be cool. And then it's revealed over the course of this episode that it's not... So the MMO that this is based on, one of the things it did was it had a quote-unquote novel system where major historical events were basically written out as canon and made into novels. And it turns out that this isn't the setting of the game, it's the setting of the novels.
Right.
Which means there is a lot more, like, less video game abstraction and a lot less, like, there's fewer people from the game represented in the story.
Yeah.
Because if you had 1 million players at level cap in a story, that is not narratively viable.
It's a whole story of its own kind, right?
No, like, the Demon Lord would not be able to stand against 1 million people at level 1000.
Yes.
Like, that's the kind of, like, this is a Demon Lord story. But yeah, all that comes out, and then it turns out one of the nations managed to summon a hero, and it's a Japanese boy.
Oh boy.
He shows up in a fucking Gakuran and everything, just...
Good stuff.
I can't wait to find out what his fucking problem is.
Speaking of finding out about problems.
Yeah.
Moving on to older stuff. In the Apothecary Diaries, episode 7 to 9, so what I wasn't expecting this show to be, it was like CSI. But there's a lot of CSI stuff going on in terms of like trying to unpick what happened at the garden party where there was a poisoning attempt that ended up targeting the wrong person because there was a prank that disrupted it and sent the stuff to the wrong place and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So that's happening, and Jinshi regresses because he's exhausted because he's basically not sleeping while the investigation is underway. Mm-hmm. But Mao Mao is also trying to figure out what all these hairpins are about that she got during the garden party. And she's talking to one of her friends from before she became a lady-in-waiting when she was just a serving girl. Mm-hmm. And the thing that the serving girl knows about hairpins is you can use them to get the person who gave it to you to escort you outside of the rear palace, like the concubine palace. Mm-hmm. That's clearly not the whole story. But Mao Mao takes the hairpin of the guy who was handing out lots of hairpins.
Yeah, like the consolation prize ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, he calls it a consolation prize one later in the episode.
Yeah.
But, like, she judges that to be the lowest stakes one of the ones she's been given. So she goes to see him and says, I want to go and visit my family. And he's like, I'm not going to do that for you. Why would I do that for you? And she says, my family helped run this really elite exclusive brothel and I can get you an introduction there. Which goes extremely well for Lihaku, but Mao Mao is going to have to pay for it. Which I'm sure shenanigans will ensue from that. Mm-hmm. But the real shenanigans that are going to ensue are that Gyokyo, the courtesan who Mao Mao serves, figures out that Mao Mao doesn't know what the hairpins mean. And she manages to engineer being the one to tell Jinshi what Mao Mao has done. And whatever it is exactly that the hairpins mean, Jinshi is extremely mad about this.
Yep.
And it's great.
It's really good.
One other thing to talk about. So Tara and I finished the 3 Gundam movies, and we moved on to a show called Dougram, which is probably the most direct descendant that Gundam has. Literally kind of greenlit right after the original Gundam series finished airing, started airing itself in 1981, so a year later. And this is an even more serious, even more ambitious Gundam. Like, it's a unapologetically, compellingly political story about the power struggle between Earth and one of its colonies. I can't give a play-by-play because it is wildly complicated already. Like, so many characters. It does that thing where it starts at the end of the story and the first 2 episodes are working their way back to the point the story begins at. So it's doing really effective narrative stuff along those lines as well. And I don't want to say that it is better storytelling than we normally see in anime or in mecha anime, but it does feel different. It feels like a kind of storytelling that I would associate more with, like, fantasy novels, like really big, sprawling stories. And the historical moment is interesting because this is not just right after Gundam, it's also right before Akira, the manga, starts being published. And at the start of this story, when Krin and Rocky, who are kind of the 2 main characters, meet for the first time, Rocky is leading a biker gang. And the way that Krin kind of establishes a relationship with Rocky is through, like, they do bike stunts together, basically. And, you know, the advantage of watching older stuff, of engaging with older media, is you see these connecting tissues. And we were watching this and Tara pointed out, like, this connection to Akira. And a moment later there was a shot that was like, that's right out of a 60s James Dean movie. And it's like, oh yeah, it absolutely makes sense that in the DNA of Akira and all the stuff about, like, young men in biker gangs in that is James Dean. Never put it together before, but there it is. Now, Tara did call this one of the ugliest goddamn anime ever made. I quote. Which is not quite true. Like, I get why she said that. And there are definitely some moments where you can see the limitations of technology at the time, the limitations of budget, and so on. And it has something of the aesthetic of, like, a Vietnam War movie. So it's ugly in that sense. And also, there's another thing Tara said. Half the drama is just, like, ugly old men in rooms talking cryptically about their evil plots. But actually, it is entirely capable of being stunning in the way that old-style painted background anime are. Like, some of the scenic shots are gorgeous. It's just a case of, like, whether that aesthetic works for you or not. I think you'd hate it, but it's very much, like, in that section of the things that I like visually that you don't.
Yeah.
It's also very long, so we're going to be watching that for, like, the next 6 months, I think. But I'm looking forward to it. It's dark as shit and grim as hell, and I want that every so often.
Yep.
It's a good compliment to the Kamen Rider series that we're watching, which is 01, which is goofy.
Yep.
The main character fancies himself a stand-up comic.
Oh, no.
He's just been made the CEO of, like, a massive robotics corporation, but he keeps doing his, like, stand-up comic sign-off goofy bit, and his robot assistant keeps explaining his jokes. It's good, but it's very goofy. So, watching that writers project of Slimebug Productions. Intro and outro music is by me, graphics are by Val. You can find us on Blue Sky at slimebug.bsky.socials, YouTube at youtube.com/slimebugproductions, Patreon at patreon.com/slimebugproductions, download all episodes from Libsyn at slimebug.pro, and join our Discord via the link in the description. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may anime neither betray nor disappoint you.